Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to your messages for the week. Today is Monday, the 3rd of October, so I am a day late this week because I've had a really busy weekend, joyfully so. But this is the first messages for the week for the month of October. So I did the messages for the month of October. I will put a link in the description and the video in the end screen for you if you haven't already seen that. It was super focused on thoughts and the power of thoughts and how we use our ability to choose our thoughts in order to raise our frequency. That is how we can raise our frequency. Everything is frequency, but our thoughts are the most powerful frequency. They are the most powerful creating force, I want to say, in our reality, especially the thoughts you have about yourself. And it was very much focused on not caring about what other people think about anything, not just what other people think about you, but not caring about what other people think about anything, what other people's views are on the world. It was really coming up that that's super irrelevant to you and to the creations that you're making in your reality, because never before have there been so many different realities all kind of like living among each other. It's amazing. It's amazing. So let's have a look and see. I'm also going to put a link in the description and the video in the end screen for my video on the power of words and affirmations, because of course that's so powerful. And I'll also put, sorry, that was a little fly on there. I'll also put a link into my first book, Heal Yourself to Happiness, if you haven't already read it. It's a fantastic first step to understanding the power of energy and how you can start using these different steps to raise your frequency. Basically, that's what it's all about, raising frequency. Let's bring it back to that all the time. Okay, I'm only getting the one card, right, from tarot. This is interesting because I've been shuffling them, since I started. And it's the Ace of Cups. So this is interesting because if the month of October was all about thoughts, it was all swords, apart from like one wands, all swords, very much non-physical, very much thought orientated, right? Which is what I've been saying. Today, we've got the Ace of Cups, which cups is creative. And that's what I was just talking about. You understanding that you are creating through your thoughts. You are literally creating through your thoughts. No one else's thoughts are creating your reality, only your thoughts. Cups is creative. It's creativity. It's also intuition. It's also spirituality, understanding yourself as a spiritual being, understanding that you're a multidimensional being, of course. If you're only going to focus on the physical, you're never really going to get to grips with who you really are, because it's only your human vessel that's in physical form. You yourself are not. You come into your physical vessel with your first breath, and you leave your physical vessel with your last breath. And if you think about it, I think about this. I think I wrote about it in one of my books. I can't remember which one now. Imagine you've got two bodies lying in front of you. And one of them is lifeless, shall we say. It has no breath in it. It's dead, in other words, okay? And the other one is breathing, okay? So this one has a soul. This one doesn't have a soul, okay? And I often think about this. When you ask people, okay, where do you get your energy from? And people are always going to say, they're not always going to say, they usually say from food, and you think, well, okay, but this body has food in its stomach still. Let's say it's recently departed. The consciousness has recently departed. The soul has recently departed. The body is still there. It will have food in its stomach, okay? But it's got no energy, has it? And if you say, okay, how come you're moving your body? What's moving your body for you? Well, people stuck in the physical are going to say, my muscles. My muscles move my body. We learn that at school, that the muscles are attached to the bones. And if you want to move a bone, you know, or move an arm, you're going to move the muscles. But this body has muscles and he can't move his arms or legs or anything. You know, I think about it like that. I don't know whether that makes me weird or what. It's just the way I was thinking about it. And then if you think about personality, this body has a personality, but this body has no personality. There's no personality in this body. You know, it's understanding that what is the difference between these bodies? You know, so this one isn't getting his movement from muscles. He's not getting his energy from food, is he? On some level, on a physical level, yes. But obviously there's more. And the only difference between these two bodies, this one that's breathing and this one that's not breathing, this one that's alive and this one that's dead, the only difference is the breath. Of course, you know, without your breath, you're dead. Think about it. Without your breath, it's not you. Not just you are dead. No, your breath is with your consciousness. It's gone somewhere else and it's still very much active in the non-physical planes. The vessel that person chose to express their soul through the breath, with the breath, in that lifetime has finished. But consciousness is still there, isn't it? The consciousness has gone on into non-physical. It's a bit like the water cycle, isn't it? You know, with the water cycle, we learn, we see the rain, we see the snow or what have you, and then it evaporates. It melts and goes into water and then it evaporates. We can't see it, but we know it's still there. So it's quite naive, isn't it, for people to think that once you've gone physically, you're gone. I mean, when we have proof all around that there are things existing in non-physical form, or things that we can't see, shall we say. So basically understanding that you are more than your physical body. That's what I'm getting at. That's what I'm getting at with this. I think I used that as an analogy to understand the power and importance of your breath, because that's why breathing techniques are so important. And that's why breathing down into the belly and allowing as much breath into your body as possible, understanding that it's not just oxygen coming in, carbon dioxide leaving. It's not just oxygen coming in, filling your lungs, passing around all your body to every cell, picking up the carbon dioxide and exhaling it out. There's so much more in your breath than the oxygen and the carbon dioxide. There's everything in your breath. You. And so the breath coming in, going to every single cell of your body, picking up whatever is not serving you and exhaling it out. So our exhalation is releasing what isn't serving us anymore. It's not just carbon dioxide. We can exhale. That's why in energy healing, we often, a lot of people, I in particular, do exhale when I'm releasing energy that's no longer serving. But anyway, the point being that we do need to dive deep into the understanding that we are a non-physical. If you don't like the word spiritual, I mean, you wouldn't be watching this video, but a lot of people don't like the word spiritual, which is fine. I didn't used to. I mean, you know, words, again, I did one recently, didn't we? Had a video recently about the power of words and understanding, but they're laden. They're absolutely laden. Words are laden with all sorts of beliefs, understanding, and all sorts of other things going on. This came up the other day. Oh, let me just say this one, because I thought it was really powerful at the time. It was the word sensible. I was working with a gorgeous client of mine who isn't a native English speaker anyway. And so this is why it kind of, you know, shocked me that she sort of educated me on something to do with the English language. It was great. But we were looking at the word sensible. Okay, and I was just checking that she wasn't getting it confused with sensitive, because here in Spain that can often be the case. And she said, no, sensible is when you use the senses, it's when it makes sense. And I hadn't thought about that before, because I realized that in that moment that the word sensible for me was laden with other energy and other beliefs. I had quite a negative connotation around the word sensible, because I guess in my upbringing, I was always told that my big sister was the sensible one, and I was never very sensible, apparently. So that's how the word was used in my growing up. And so I thought of myself as not being sensible, and I thought of myself, I saw that as kind of some kind of negative thing. When I kind of stepped into some freedom, I saw being sensible as being boring, and being sensible as being quite programmed, and being sensible as being quite restricted. I kind of had that kind of notion. But if you bring it back to basics, the word sensible means using the senses. And that gave the word sensible a whole new meaning to me, because it's sensible to use your senses, isn't it? We want to, especially if they're extrasensory perceptions, we've got extrasensory abilities. We need to be using them, whether it be your sight, your hearing, taste, touch, feeling. Okay. I mean, it's, or smelling or what have you, but using your senses, is the most positive thing we can do. I sense something, tuning into your senses, seeing what you're really tuning into, what you see, what you hear, what you feel. That's really important, I think. And understanding that everything is energy, and how do you feel energetically about it? So now I think feeling energetically about things is sensible. So I've concluded that my way of doing things is sensible. I got all of that from this card, because it is about tuning into our emotions. Of course, that's what cups are. There's your peace and harmony. There's a new beginning. It's a new beginning. So I want to take you into a new dimension. Let's explore higher dimensions, so that you can really understand who you really are, where you've come from, and what you came here to do and experience and express in this human form that you've chosen at this time. And it's not the be all and end all of you, but it's a really super exciting lifetime. So understanding this week that when you're using your senses and you're going with your heart, because this came up as well, didn't it? That going with your heart is the safest thing you can do, right? So this week, it's going to, I think that came up in October's, right? So if that makes sense, because we're in October. So this week, it's about understanding that following your heart and going with your feelings is the most sensible thing that you can do. And that's going to take you away from that programming, which the October cards was talking about so much of, those limiting beliefs, and those mental programming that we've experienced. So this is about breaking away from that and realizing that we do need to go from the heart, and we do need to feel our way. If something doesn't feel right, it's not right for you, and listen to the words that you use as well. I always use the word things like I sense you're not happy today, and things like that. And people used to ridicule me, but now I understand why I did it, because I guess it wasn't the look. I wasn't like seeing something on their face, so to speak. I was feeling something in their energy, but at the time I wasn't aware of that. But some people will say, oh, I hear you, you know and they're showing that they're like auditory in nature. And what they're really saying is like, I understand you. But we can also say, I see. I see. I see means I understand as well, doesn't it? So if you use I see or to mean I understand, or if you use I hear to mean I understand, or if you sense things, rather than know them. Well, if you just have a knowing, then you're claircognizant, aren't you, really? But it's tuning into how you best interpret energy, because we can see energy, we can hear it, we can feel it, and some people just have an inner knowing. And it's very much like when you were at school studying, or maybe you're studying now, how do you study? Some people are very visual. They want to see mind maps and charts and colors. And they like to underline things in different colors and stuff like that. And that's how they best learn. So these would be, spiritually, these would be the clairvoyants, because they are focused on the visuals and seeing energy. So they're the ones that might see shadowy figures, or they might see symbols in places, finding little stones in the shape of hearts or something like this. That's very visual, of course, or finding leaves in the shape of hearts and things like that. Or just maybe they're the ones that can actually see, if they were doing Akashic record readings, or if they're tuned into a client for healing purposes or something, they might see images of whatever the issue is, or past lives or stuff like that, to actually see images. That's the way that if you were a visual learner, if you are a visual learner, the chances are you're going to see your most dominant clair, as we call them, is going to be seeing energy. So you might see auras around people, or see colors or things like that. Of course, the clairaudient souls among us are the ones that hear, and they hear the messages maybe through music, or maybe through voices. They're the ones that might literally hear voices. And so they're the ones that, when they're studying, they can just listen to the teacher or whoever, and the information goes in. And so these are the ones that sometimes get messages from, like, the radio, put the radio on and something comes out. So, oh, wow, it's they're the ones that might be able to hear. There's always a flip side to things. So they might hear the bump in the night, but they're the ones that can hear energy a lot more easily than others. And if you were one of those students that like to experience stuff yourself and experiment yourself, and you're not really going to grasp anything until you've seen it for yourself, they're more your kinesthetic learner. But in a energetic concept, we can call them the clairsentients. They're the ones that are feeling the energy, and we have a little bit of all of them. We definitely have a little bit of all of these. I mean, someone that's really academic and learning quite easily would have, equal amounts of all of these, so they'll be able to learn in any way. And energetically, we have all of them, but we have them to differing degrees. So I would say I was more dominantly clairsentient, because I feel energy. And when I'm doing if I'm doing spirit guide readings or something, I can't see, I don't always see an image, but I create like a profile from the feeling. I can feel their personality, if that makes sense. So it's interesting. I mean, I'm sharing all of that now, so you can have a little exploration with yourself. Do you feel energy? Can you see energy around people and around things? Or do you hear things? Do you kind of hear? I mean, I've heard angels singing. That sounds pretty corny, but hey ho, I experienced it. You have to experience it to believe it, right? So yeah, it's a little bit of all of it, but there'll be one that's more dominant for you. And knowing which one is really going to help you on your spiritual journey. I think that's what I'm getting around to. Knowing which one is going to help you, because you can really nurture that avenue of energy exploration. Are you looking to feel the energy, see the energy, or hear the energy? And some people just have an inner knowing. I've often referred to that. Oh, I had an inner knowing that something was going to go a certain way. So I wasn't feeling it, seeing it, or hearing it. There was just an inner knowing. And in the classroom, there's always a student that knows it already, right? The claircognient, or the kid that already knows it. We call that claircognient with energy. And so we have a little bit of all of those, but think about those, and think about when you're using that claircognient, what is it that you know already, you have an inner knowing about, spookily, you may think in the beginning, or what is it you have a feeling about, and what is it you can see? Because some people can read faces as well. You can tell when somebody's, unhappy. Of course, sometimes the emotions have a physical effect on the face, obviously, but some people can really tune in and see more, you know, with people's, they can read people's bodies and things like that. Some people can even have like X-ray vision, and they can actually scan a body and see what's you know, what's out of balance or what's going on and stuff like that. So have a little exploration. Or is it the way that you know, you listen? Can you hear energy in a certain way? Do you get a lot of your guidance from music? Do you feel that you get you raise your frequency and you receive messages from your higher self when you're listening to certain music, or when you're playing music, if you're a musician yourself? So yeah, have a little exploration. That's quite interesting. I think that's what's coming up this week. We are exploring, because it's an ace, we're exploring our spirituality, so that we can really explore the non-physical. I think that's what I want to say. We can really explore the non-physical. As only one came out, the tarot, I'm going to pull from this one, the Archangel Raphael healing cards. I love these. Let's see if there's any healing messages for us this week from Archangel Raphael. Anything that we should know to help us, that came out when I said help us and raise our frequency. Anything else? No, I think that's it, because with those two, that makes 3 in total, because 3 seems to be the magic number. Inner authority. No surprises there. What were we talking about? We were talking about feeling the energy, seeing the energy, hearing the energy yourself, not having to listen to other people, not getting your information from outside of you, really tapping into your own spirituality, inner authority, listening to yourself. Okay, going within. Dear Archangel Raphael, thank you for supporting me as I take back my power and listen to my own intuition, listen to my own desires, and listen to my own feelings. Oh, you couldn't make this up, could you? I love it. And we have another one here about avoiding allergens. Can you see that? Avoiding allergens. Okay, so dear Archangel Raphael, please assist me in identifying and avoiding allergens that may be toxic to my health and happiness. Help me to only crave healthful foods and beverages. Healthful, I would say healthy, but that's healthful foods and beverages. So what am I going to say with that? Anyone that's followed me for any length of time knows what I'm going to say with that. I'm going to put a link in the description and a video in the end screen to my sway testing video, so that you can sway test not just your foods and beverages, but all your cosmetics and everything else. And you can make sure that everything that you consume in for your, you know, diet wise, eating and drinking, but also consume as in putting on your body, is good for your body. So you're going to learn to do the sway test if you don't already know it. Hold the product to your heart, and if you sway forwards, you need to practice, you need to use the video. If you sway forwards, it's good for your body. If you have an allergy to anything or an intolerance to anything, you will go backwards. Okay, and then you need to avoid those things. And it could also be something that you like. It could be something you're addicted to. Funny enough, it's difficult to explain this one, but we often have addictions to the things that we have an allergy to. I mean, obviously we have addictions to things that are not good for our health. You know, that's kind of common sense in a way, isn't it? So if you want to, you don't need to go to an expensive kinesiologist, although please do if you feel drawn to, of course. I know lots of fantastic ones. But for stuff at home, you know, in your kitchen, you can test your foods and drinks and your cosmetics and everything else for allergens. And if you are allergic or intolerant to anything, you will sway backwards, and then you will know to avoid that substance. So, and sometimes it could be just for a few weeks. So you don't have to give it up forever. That's an interesting one. If it is something that you like and you've been like overindulging in it, maybe you just need to give it up for a few weeks. But again, you can sway test. So sway test it again next week, sway test it the week after and the week after. And if it keeps saying no, obviously avoid it. But it might in a few weeks' time say yes again. And then you'll be able to consume it in moderation. without that allergy attachment to it, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense, because that seemed to be a lovely little reading for this week. So especially as the overall for October is about focusing on thoughts, I love the fact that we are exploring our spirituality and exploring the higher dimensions and the higher dimensional parts of us, because that's where our guidance is, that's where our answers are. So releasing the programming is one thing, okay, but that might leave you a little bit in limbo. So this is about bringing in that guidance from yourself. Okay, what are your feelings telling you? Okay, follow them, because there's a whole new direction to take you to another dimension. Okay, infinite, infinite possibilities, infinite, infinity, eternal. I don't know. What do we want to say? Goodbye, Deborah. All right. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Lots of love to all of you. They're your cards for the week. I shall see you next Sunday. Bye for now.